Dr. Sarah Chun's coffee mug sits cold on her desk, still steaming when the security footage shows her laboratory door closing for the last time. 14 years later, construction workers breaking ground for a new wing hear something that makes their blood run cold, the rhythmic beeping of an emergency beacon, buried 6 feet beneath the basement floor. 3 days earlier, the fluorescent lights in the Meridian Research Institute hum their familiar tune as Dr. Sarah Chun adjusts her safety goggles and peers into the centrifuge. At 34, she's already made her mark in biochemistry, her research on cellular regeneration earning whispers of a Nobel nomination. Her hands move with practiced precision, extracting samples that could revolutionize cancer treatment. Still here, Sarah? Dr. Marcus Webb's voice cuts through the lab's sterile silence. Sarah glances up to see her department head lingering. In the doorway, his usually warm smile strained at the edges. "Just finishing the protein synthesis batch," she replies, not looking up from her work. "The cultures need to be processed tonight, or we'll lose a week's worth of data." Marcus steps closer, his expensive shoes clicking against the polished floor. "You know, dedication is admirable, but even Nobel laureates need sleep." Sarah finally meets his gaze, catching something she can't quite name flickering behind his glasses. "I'll head home soon, promise. See that you do." His fingers drum against the metal counter. Security gets nervous when people stay past midnight. Makes them think someone's up to something they shouldn't be. The comment hangs in the air like a chemical reaction waiting to ignite. Sarah forces a laugh. "Well, good thing I'm just growing cells, not building bombs." Marcus doesn't return her smile. Instead, he glances at her computer screen, where rows of data cascade down in neat columns. Those numbers look significant. They are. Sarah instinctively angles her monitor away. The cellular regeneration rates are exceeding all our projections. If we can replicate these results consistently, we're looking at breakthrough applications. For tissue repair, maybe even reversing certain degenerative diseases. Impressive, Marcus's voice carries an odd weight. Have you shared these findings with anyone else? Not yet. I want to run a few more trials first, make sure the data's rock solid before. Good, very good. He straightens his tie, a nervous habit Sarah's noticed increasing over the past few weeks. You know, Sarah, sometimes discoveries this significant, they can attract the wrong kind of attention. A chill runs down her spine despite the lab's controlled temperature. What do you mean? Nothing specific. Just ... Be careful who you trust with your work. The pharmaceutical industry is more cutthroat than you might imagine. After Marcus leaves, Sarah stares at the empty doorway for a long moment. His words echo in her mind as she returns to her samples, but something feels different now. The familiar comfort of her laboratory, with its organized chaos of beakers, microscopes, and humming equipment, suddenly feels exposed, vulnerable. She glances at the security camera mounted in the corner, its red light blinking steadily. For the first time in 5 years of working here, she wonders who else might be watching her data, her progress, her life's work. Her phone buzzes. A text from her younger sister Emma. "Movie night tomorrow? Haven't seen you in weeks." Sarah smiles, typing back. "Definitely. I think I need some normal human interaction." "Everything okay?" Sarah's fingers hover over the keyboard. How can she explain the growing unease that's been gnawing at her? The way conversations stop when she enters rooms. The subtle questions about her research timeline. The feeling that she's being watched even when she's alone. Just work stress. "See you tomorrow." She slips the phone back into her lab coat and focuses on the final batch of samples. The protein markers are indeed remarkable cellular regeneration at rates she's never seen before. If her theory is correct, this could be the key to healing injuries that currently result in permanent disability, even extending healthy human lifespan. But as she labels the final sample vial, Sarah notices her hands are trembling slightly. Marcus's warning replays in her mind. Sometimes discoveries this significant can attract the wrong kind of attention. She secures the samples in the specialized freezer, each vial tagged with her personal coding system, a precaution she'd implemented months ago, when she first realized the magnitude of her discovery. The codes are meaningless to anyone else, but to Sarah, they represent years of meticulous work and the potential to change millions of lives. As she shuts down her equipment and gathers her notes, Sarah makes a decision. Tomorrow, she starts making copies of everything: data, samples, research notes. She'll store them somewhere safe, somewhere only she knows about, just in case. The laboratory falls silent, except for the steady hum of refrigeration units maintaining their precious cargo. Sarah takes one last look around, memorizing every detail, the whiteboard covered in her calculations, the family photo on her desk, the small succulent plant Emma gave her for her birthday. She doesn't know it yet, but this is the last time she sees any of it. As Sarah reaches for the light switch, she notices something that makes her pause. The small red light on her computer isn't the usual standby indicator, it's the active data transfer light. Someone is accessing her files remotely right now. Her heart pounds as she moves back to the computer, but before she can investigate further, she hears the distinct sound of the laboratory's keycard reader beeping in the hallway outside. Sarah's breath catches as footsteps echo in the corridor. Outside her lab, the building should be empty except for security guards, and their rounds aren't scheduled for another hour. She quietly moves away from her computer, the data transfer light still blinking its ominous red warning. The footsteps pause directly outside her door. Sarah's mind races through possibilities. Could it be Marcus returning? Another researcher? Working late? But the hesitation in the footsteps suggests someone who doesn't belong here, someone trying to decide their next move. She grabs her phone and quickly texts her sister, "Working late again. If you don't hear from me by tomorrow afternoon, something's wrong." Emma's response comes immediately. "Sarah, you're scaring me. What's going on?" Before Sarah can reply, her keycard reader beeps. Someone is using an authorized card to enter her laboratory. Sarah slips behind a tall equipment cabinet, her heart hammering against her ribs. The door opens with a soft whoosh, and she hears two sets of footsteps enter. One she recognizes as Marcus's distinctive gait, the other unfamiliar. "She was definitely here." Marcus's voice is low, urgent. "Computer's still warm, and look, she just finished processing tonight's batch. Did she see the transfer logs?" The second voice belongs to a woman, crisp and professional with a slight accent Sarah can't place. "I don't think so. But we can't take any chances. Her research is too valuable to risk her going public, or worse, taking it to a competitor." Sarah presses herself deeper into the shadows, barely daring to breathe. Through a gap between equipment, she can see Marcus examining her computer while the woman, tall blonde, wearing an expensive dark suit, studies the sample freezer. "These protein markers," the woman says, holding up one of Sarah's vials. "Are you certain they're as significant as our preliminary analysis suggests?" "More than significant, revolutionary. With her cellular regeneration formula, we're looking at military applications alone worth billions. Enhanced healing for battlefield injuries, extended operational capacity for special forces, the defense. Contracts would be unlimited. And the civilian medical applications?" Marcus laughs. "But there's no warmth in it. Even more lucrative. Imagine marketing a treatment that can regrow damaged organs, reverse aging, cure degenerative diseases. We're not just talking about a pharmaceutical breakthrough, we're talking about reshaping human mortality itself." Sarah's blood turns to ice. These aren't her colleagues discussing ethical applications of her research. These are people who see her life's work as a commodity, a weapon, a path to profit built on suffering. "Where is Dr. Chun now?" the woman asks. "She left about 30 minutes ago." But she's been asking questions, getting suspicious. Today she asked why our funding source has been classified. And yesterday, I caught her making backup copies of her data. Unfortunate, but manageable. The woman's tone is clinical, detached. We'll proceed with Phase 2 tomorrow night. Make sure she stays late again. And if she refuses, she won't have a choice. Sarah watches in horror as the woman produces a small electronic device and plugs it into Sarah's computer. Within moments, she's copying everything, years of research, thousands of hours of work, the key to potentially saving countless lives. What about her family? Marcus asks. Sister, parents? Already under surveillance. The sister works at that little art gallery downtown, lives alone, very predictable routine. The parents are retired in Florida. All useful leverage if Dr. Chun becomes uncooperative. The casual way she discusses threatening Emma makes Sarah's vision blur with rage. She grips her phone tighter, fighting the urge to call the police immediately. But what would she tell them? That her department head is stealing her research with a mysterious woman who talks about military applications and leverage. The extraction team is in position? Marcus asks. They'll be ready. Dr. Chun will simply disappear. Another brilliant scientist who couldn't handle the pressure, who walked away from her life to start fresh somewhere new. It happens more often than people think. And then she'll continue her research in a more controlled environment. One where she can focus entirely on her work without distracting ethical concerns or family obligations. Sarah realizes with growing horror that they're not just planning to steal her research, they're planning to kidnap her, to force her to continue working for them in some hidden facility. The thought of being trapped, of having her discoveries perverted into instruments of war or profit, makes her feel physically sick. The woman finishes downloading the files and unplugs her device. Tomorrow night then. Make sure she's alone. What if she's already copied the data elsewhere? Our surveillance indicates she hasn't. Her home computer shows no signs of scientific files, and she hasn't contacted any outside laboratories or journals. As long as we act quickly, we can contain this. As they move toward the door, Sarah realizes this might be her only chance to escape. She waits until their footsteps fade down the corridor, then emerges from her hiding spot on shaking legs. Her computer screen shows the aftermath of their digital theft, file after file, marked with recent access times. Years of work, stolen in minutes. But what terrifies her more is the realization that they've been watching her for weeks, maybe months. They know her routines, her relationships, her vulnerabilities. Sarah grabs her personal notebook, the one thing they can't steal remotely, and shoves it into her bag. The notebook contains her handwritten observations, her theories about the broader applications of her research, and most importantly, the location of her hidden sample cache. 3 months ago, growing increasingly paranoid about corporate espionage, Sarah had begun storing duplicate samples in a secret location known only to her. If something happened to the lab samples, the backup cache would preserve her work. Now that paranoia might save not just her research, but her life. Her phone buzzes with another text from Emma, seriously worried now. Call me. Sarah types quickly. Can't talk. Trust no one. If I disappear, remember our childhood hiding place. She deletes the message thread immediately. Emma will understand they'd created dozens of secret hiding spots as children, but one special place where they'd buried their most precious treasures. If Sarah doesn't survive tomorrow night, Emma will know where to look. As Sarah heads for the exit, she passes the security camera that's been watching her every move. She stares directly into its lens, knowing that somewhere, someone is monitoring her every step. But they don't know about the samples hidden across town. They don't know about the encrypted files she stored in a safety deposit box. And they Don't know that Dr. Sarah Chun isn't nearly as naive as they believe. Tomorrow night, when they come for her, she be ready. Sarah's apartment feels like a tomb as she paces between her kitchen and living room, the notebook clutched against her chest like armor. Every car that passes on the street below makes her flinch toward the window. Every creak of the old building's settling bones sends her heart racing. She's been awake for 36 hours straight, but sleep is impossible. How do you rest when you know tomorrow night might be your last as a free person? Her phone rings, Marcus's name flashing on the screen. Sarah stares at it for 3 rings before answering, her voice carefully neutral. Hello, Marcus. Sarah, thank God. I've been trying to reach you all morning. Are you feeling all right? You sound stressed. The concern in his voice is so perfectly performed that Sarah almost believes it herself. Just tired. I stayed too late last night. About that, I wanted to apologize if I seemed tense yesterday. Budget meetings always make me cranky. He pauses, and Sarah can practically hear him calculating his next words. Listen, I have some exciting news. There's a potential investor coming by tomorrow evening. Someone very interested in your cellular regeneration work. Sarah's grip tightens on the phone. What kind of investor? Biotech venture capital. Very well connected. They're talking about funding a dedicated research facility, unlimited resources, a team of assistants. Everything you've ever dreamed of for your research. That sounds incredible. Sarah forces enthusiasm into her voice while her stomach churns. What time? 8 o'clock. I know it's short notice, but they're only in town for one night. This could be the opportunity of a lifetime, Sarah. Or a lifetime of captivity. I'll be there. Excellent. Oh, and Sarah? They'll want to see your most recent data, so make sure everything's ready for presentation. This could change everything. After hanging up, Sarah allows herself a moment of bitter laughter. Marcus isn't even trying to be subtle anymore. They want her in the lab tomorrow night, isolated and vulnerable, with all her research ready for them to steal. But Sarah has spent the last 18 hours preparing her own surprise. She opens her laptop and accesses the encrypted drive she created years ago, her personal insurance policy against corporate theft. Slowly, methodically, she begins uploading everything: research data, lab protocols, sample analyses, her theories about potential applications. But she's not just copying the files, she's embedding them with a time-delayed release mechanism. If she doesn't input a specific code sequence every 72 hours, the files will automatically upload to every major scientific journal, medical research database, and news organization she can think of. Her life's work will become public domain, impossible to suppress or weaponize. Her doorbell rings. Sarah freezes, her hands hovering over the keyboard. Through the peephole, she sees Emma standing in the hallway, holding a bag from their favorite Thai restaurant. I brought dinner, Emma calls out. And I'm not leaving until you tell me what's going on. Sarah opens the door, and Emma immediately pulls her into a fierce hug. At 28, Emma has their mother's intuitive empathy and their father's stubborn determination, a combination that makes her impossible to deceive. You look terrible, Emma says, setting the food on Sarah's kitchen counter. When's the last time you ate something? I'm not hungry. That wasn't the question. Emma begins unpacking containers of pad thai and green curry, the familiar aromas filling the apartment. Talk to me, Sarah. Your text last night scared me half to death. Sarah watches her sister move around the kitchen with easy familiarity, and for a moment, she's tempted to tell Emma everything. But that would only put her in danger too. It's just work stress, Sarah lies. I'm close to a major breakthrough, and the pressure is getting to me. Emma stops unpacking and turns to face her, those dark eyes that have always seen through Sarah's defenses. Don't insult my intelligence. You've been paranoid for weeks, asking weird questions about whether I've noticed anyone following me, whether my routine has changed. Yesterday, you practically interrogated me about my gallery security system. Sarah's heart sinks. She thought she'd been more subtle. And now, Emma continues, you're talking about childhood hiding places and telling me not to trust anyone. So either you're having some kind of breakdown, or you're in serious trouble. Emma, which hiding place? Emma's voice is quiet but firm. Which one were you talking about in your text? Sarah meets her sister's gaze and sees the fear there, the love, the absolute refusal to be shut out. In that moment, she makes a decision that might save both their lives or doom them both. The oak tree in Riverside Park, the one where we buried our time capsule when you were 12. Emma nods slowly. What am I supposed to find there? If something happens to me, if I disappear or have an accident or anything that seems suspicious, there's a metal box buried 3 feet down, due north of the big root. Inside you'll find backup samples of my research, encrypted files, and instructions for what to do with them. Sarah, you're scaring me. Good, you should be scared. Sarah grabs Emma's hands, holding them tightly. My research, it's bigger than I ever imagined. It could save millions of lives, but there are people who want to steal it, to use it for things I never intended. Military applications, corporate profit, things that would pervert everything I've worked for. Emma's eyes widen. Are you talking about your own colleagues? I'm talking about people who see human suffering as a business opportunity. Sarah's voice hardens. People who would kidnap a scientist and force her to work for them if it meant controlling breakthrough medical technology. Then why are you going back to the lab? Why not just disappear? Go to the FBI. Go public with everything. Because if I run now, they'll know I'm onto them. They'll adapt, find other scientists, other ways to get what they want. But if I can expose them in the act, if I can get evidence of what they're planning, you could get yourself killed. Sarah squeezes Emma's hands one more time, then releases them. Maybe, but I could also stop them from doing this to other people. My research could help save lives, Emma. I won't let them turn it into a weapon. Emma stares at her for a long moment, then nods with grim determination. What do you need me to do? Tomorrow night at 8:30. Exactly 30 minutes after I'm supposed to meet these investors, I want you to call Detective Rivera. Remember him from when our apartment got broken into 2 years ago? I remember. Tell him you're worried about me, that I've been receiving threats related to my research. If he can't reach me by phone, ask him to do a welfare check at the lab. And if you don't come home? Sarah pulls out a small key and presses it into Emma's palm. Safety deposit box at First National, downtown branch. Box 247. Everything's in there, copies of my research, evidence of the surveillance. Names of everyone I suspect is involved. Emma closes her fingers around the key, her knuckles white. There has to be another way. Maybe, but this is the way that ensures my work can't be stolen and perverted, regardless of what happens to me. They spend the next 2 hours eating Thai food and pretending everything is normal, talking about Emma's latest art exhibition and Sarah's plans to redecorate her apartment. But underneath the forced normalcy, both sisters understand this might be their last meal together. As Emma prepares to leave, she turns back at the door. The oak tree. 3 feet down, due north of the big root. Due north of the big root, Sarah confirms. And if you don't come home tomorrow night, I call Detective Rivera 8:30 and check the safety deposit box. That's right. Emma hugs her fiercely. I love you, Sarah. Whatever you're planning, please be careful. After Emma leaves, Sarah returns to her laptop and finishes setting up the dead man switch on her research files. Tomorrow night, when Marcus and his associates spring their trap, they'll discover that Dr. Sarah Chun has been setting a trap of her own. She just hopes she lived long enough to see it work. The Meridian Research Institute feels different on Sarah's final day. The fluorescent lights seem harsher, the corridors longer, the familiar hum of equipment tinged with menace. Sarah moves through her morning routine with mechanical precision, cataloging every detail that might matter in the hours to come. At her desk, she finds a bouquet of white lily with a card, "For your success tonight." And the flower's cloying scent makes her stomach turn. In many cultures, white lilies symbolize death and rebirth. Marcus's sense of humor has always been twisted, but this feels like a deliberate message. "Beautiful flowers," says Dr. Janet Morrison, Sarah's lab partner, as she enters with her morning coffee. "Special occasion?" "Just a colleague being thoughtful," Sarah replies, shoving the flowers into a corner. Janet's one of the few people Sarah genuinely trusts here, but even she can't know what's coming. "You seem tense today. Everything okay?" Sarah forces a smile. "Big presentation tonight. Important investors." "Ah, the mysterious funding meeting Marcus mentioned. He seems pretty excited about it." Janet settles at her workstation, then glances back with concern. "Sarah, can I ask you something? Have you noticed anything strange lately? With security, I mean?" Sarah's pulse quickens. "What do you mean?" "I've been staying late this week to finish the enzyme trials, and twice I've seen people in the building who weren't wearing ID badges. When I asked security about it, they said they didn't have any record of after-hours visitors." "Maybe contractors, maintenance, maybe." Janet doesn't sound convinced. "It's probably nothing, but with all the corporate espionage stories you hear about in biotech. You should report it," Sarah says carefully. "Better safe than sorry." After Janet turns back to her work, Sarah opens her desk drawer and discreetly activates a small recording device she purchased yesterday. If tonight goes badly, at least there might be evidence of what happened. The day crawls by with agonizing slowness. Sarah goes through the motions of normal research work while internally rehearsing every detail of her plan. At 3 o'clock, she excuses herself for a dentist appointment and drives across town to Riverside Park. The oak tree stands exactly where it did in their childhood, its massive trunk scarred by decades of weather and carved initials. Sarah looks around to ensure she's alone, then begins digging. The soil is harder than she remembered, and her hands are soft from years of lab work, but desperation lends her strength. 3 feet down, she hits metal. The waterproof container holds everything Emma will need: duplicate samples in specialized preservation tubes, encrypted drives containing her complete research data, detailed notes about Marcus's suspicious behavior, and a letter explaining everything she knows about the conspiracy. On top, she places a new addition, a small GPS tracking device she purchased that morning. If they take her somewhere, at least Emma and the police will have a starting point. Sarah reburies the container, carefully replacing the disturbed earth and scattering fallen leaves over the site. To a casual observer, the ground looks undisturbed. By 6 o'clock, she's back at the lab, ostensibly preparing for her presentation. The building has emptied except for security guards and a few late-working researchers. Sarah uses her keycard to access the basement storage area, where she plants 2 more recording devices in strategic locations. Working hard, I see. Sarah spins around to find Marcus standing in the doorway, his smile not reaching his eyes. He's changed from his usual casual attire into an expensive dark suit that makes him look like an undertaker. "Just getting everything ready," she says, proud of how steady her voice sounds. "Excellent. Our guests will be very impressed." He steps closer, and Sarah catches a whiff of his cologne mixed with something else, nervous sweat. "Sarah, I want you to know how much I've enjoyed working with you these past few years. Your dedication, your brilliance, it's been truly inspiring." The past tense makes her skin crawl. "Thank you, Marcus. That means a lot. I hope tonight will be the beginning of an exciting new chapter for both of us." After he leaves, Sarah allows herself a moment to steady her breathing. The performance has begun, and every word, every gesture matters now. At 7:30, she receives a text from an unknown number. White van in parking lot. 3 men. East exit compromised. Use service entrance. A friend, Sarah stares at the message, her mind racing. Someone else knows what's happening tonight. But who? And can she trust them? She moves to the window overlooking the parking lot and spots the van immediately white. No visible markings, parked near the main entrance. Through the tinted windshield, she can make out shadowy figures inside. Her phone buzzes again. Emma. At the gallery until 9, love you. Sarah types back, love you too. Remember what we talked about. At 7:50, Sarah makes her way to the laboratory, taking a circuitous route through the service corridors. The building feels eerily quiet, as if even the usual nighttime sounds have been muffled in anticipation of what's to come. She enters. Her lab defined it exactly as she left it, but something feels different. The air seems charged with tension, like the moments before a thunderstorm. Her equipment hums its familiar tune, but tonight it sounds almost mournful. Sarah checks her phone. 7:58. In 2 minutes, her life will change forever. She opens her laptop and logs into her system one final time, ostensibly to pull up presentation files, but actually to activate the dead man switch she programmed. From this point forward, she has 72 hours to input the abort code, or her entire research database will go public. Footsteps echo in the corridor outside. Sarah closes the laptop and stands, smoothing her lab coat with hands that refuse to stop trembling. Whatever happens next, she's as ready as she can be. The keycard reader beeps. Marcus enters first, followed by the blonde woman from last night. Behind them comes a man Sarah doesn't recognize, tall, broad-shouldered, with the alert bearing of military or law enforcement. His eyes scan the room with professional assessment, cataloging exits and potential weapons. Sarah, Marcus says with false warmth, I'd like you to meet our investors. This is Miss Christensen and Mr. Torres. The woman extends a manicured hand. Dr. Chun, it's such a pleasure to finally meet you. Your reputation precedes you. Sarah shakes the offered hand, noting its coldness and the slight chemical scent that suggests recent glove removal. Thank you for your interest in my work. Oh, we're very interested indeed, Miss Christensen replies. Very interested in ensuring it reaches its full potential. The words carry an unmistakable threat, but Sarah maintains her professional smile. I'm excited to show you what we've accomplished. Mr. Torres hasn't spoken yet, but Sarah can feel his eyes on her, measuring, calculating. When he finally moves, it's with the fluid economy of someone trained in violence. Before we begin, Miss Christensen says, I should mention that our organization values discretion above all else. The work we fund requires absolute confidentiality. Of course, Sarah replies. I understand completely. But as she looks at their faces, Marcus's nervous excitement, Ms. Christensen's cold satisfaction, Mr. Torres's professional alertness, Sarah realizes that her understanding and theirs are very different things. The trap is closing, but the question remains, who is the predator and who is the prey? Shall we begin with your most recent findings? Miss Christensen asks, settling into a chair with the confidence of someone who already owns everything in the room. Sarah moves to her computer, hyper-aware of every sound, the hum of the ventilation system, the distant footsteps of a security guard, the barely audible buzz of the recording device in her pocket. Of course, as I mentioned to Marcus, the cellular regeneration rates we're seeing are unprecedented. She pulls up her presentation, noting how Mr. Torres positions himself between her and the door while pretending to examine her equipment. These people are professionals. The applications are remarkable, Sarah continues, launching into the spiel she's rehearsed. Accelerated healing for trauma victims, organ regeneration for transplant patients, potential treatments for degenerative diseases. What about enhancement applications? Miss Christensen interrupts. Improving normal human capabilities rather than simply treating illness? The question sends a chill down Sarah's spine. I'm not sure I follow. Come now, Dr. Chun. A treatment that can regenerate damaged tissue could theoretically enhance healthy tissue as well. Increased strength, improved endurance, accelerated reflexes. The military applications alone would be worth billions. Sarah's hands still on the keyboard. That's not what this research is for. I'm interested in healing people, not creating super soldiers. Miss Christensen's smile doesn't waver, but something predatory flickers in her eyes. Of course, but surely you understand that breakthrough medical research often finds unexpected applications. Penicillin was discovered by accident. The internet grew from military research. Innovation rarely follows the path its creators intended. My research will not be weaponized, Sarah says firmly. The temperature in the room seems to drop several degrees. Mr. Torres shifts slightly, his hand moving closer to something concealed beneath his jacket. Marcus looks increasingly uncomfortable, his nervous tics more pronounced. Dr. Chun, Miss Christensen says, her voice still pleasant but with steel underneath. I think there's been a misunderstanding about the nature of this meeting. Sarah's pulse pounds in her ears, but she forces herself to remain calm. What kind of misunderstanding? We're not here to make you an offer. We're here to inform you of a decision that's already been made. Miss Christensen stands, moving with predatory grace. Your research will continue, just not here. And not under your current limitations. I don't understand. Of course you don't. You've been focused on healing humanity, a noble but naive goal. We have a broader vision, one that recognizes the true potential of your discoveries. Sarah backs toward her desk, her hand inching toward the drawer where she's hidden a small canister of pepper spray. Who are you people? We represent certain interests that have been monitoring your work for quite some time. Government contracts, private military companies, pharmaceutical giants, organizations that understand the value of what you've created and have the resources to properly exploit it. Exploit it? Sarah's voice rises. This research could save millions of lives. And it will, just not in the way you imagined. Ms. Christensen nods to Mr. Torres, who moves closer. You'll continue your work in a more secure environment, with unlimited funding and resources. Think of it as a promotion. And if I refuse? Ms. Christensen's smile turns genuinely warm, which somehow makes it more terrifying. Oh, Dr. Chun. Refusal isn't really an option. You see, we've done our homework on you. Your sister Emma, for instance, such a talented artist. It would be tragic if something happened to disrupt her career, or your parents in Florida. Retirement should be a peaceful time, don't you think? The threat hits Sarah like a physical blow. These people have been watching her family, mapping their vulnerabilities, preparing leverage points. The casual way Miss Christensen mentions Emma makes Sarah's vision blur with rage. You leave them out of this, she snarls. That entirely depends on your cooperation. Miss Christensen glances at her watch. Dr. Weber, if you would be so kind as to help Dr. Chien gather her essential research materials. Marcus steps forward reluctantly. Sarah, please don't make this harder than it needs to be. These people, they're offering you opportunities I could never provide. You're helping them kidnap me, Sarah says, her voice filled with disgust. How long have you been planning this? Months, he admits, not meeting her eyes. Your research. It's too important to remain in academic hands. The real world requires real solutions, and that means making difficult choices. Difficult choices? Sarah laughs bitterly. You mean betraying your colleagues and stealing their life's work? I mean ensuring that groundbreaking medical research doesn't disappear into the bureaucratic wasteland of peer review and ethical committees. Marcus's voice gains strength, as if he's convincing himself as much as her. Do you know how many potential cures never make it to market because of regulatory red tape? How many people die while treatments sit in development hell? So you decided to skip ethics entirely? I decided to be practical. Marcus begins collecting her research files, his movements sharp with suppressed guilt. These people can fast-track your work, get it to patients who need it, after they've turned it into a weapon first. Ms. Christensen's patience is clearly wearing thin. Dr. Chun, this philosophical debate is fascinating, but we have a schedule to keep. Mr. Torres? The large man approaches Sarah with professional calm. She grabs the pepper spray from her drawer, but he's faster, his hand clamping around her wrist with crushing force. Please don't make this difficult, he says in accented English. We have no desire to hurt you. Just to kidnap me and force me to work for you, Sarah gasps, trying to wrench free. To relocate you to a facility where your talents can be properly utilized, Miss Christensen corrects. Think of it as a career change. Sarah's mind races through her options. The recording device in her pocket is capturing everything, but only if someone finds it. The GPS tracker is buried in the park, useless unless Emma follows through on their plan. The dead man switch won't activate for another 70 hours. She needs more time. Wait, she says, forcing her voice to steady. If you're going to do this anyway, at least tell me who you really are. I think I deserve to know who's destroying my life. Miss Christensen considers this, then nods. Fair enough. We represent a consortium of interest defense contractors who need enhanced battlefield medicine, pharmaceutical companies looking to revolutionize human enhancement, and government agencies concerned with maintaining strategic advantages. In other words, war profiteers and corporate raiders. In other words, people who understand that scientific breakthroughs belong to those with the vision and resources to properly exploit them. Miss Christensen's mask of civility finally slips, revealing the cold calculation beneath. Your naive idealism is admirable, Dr. Chun, but ultimately irrelevant. And what happens to me once you have what you want? That depends entirely on your level of cooperation. Work with us willingly, and you'll live quite comfortably while advancing human science in ways you never imagined. Resist, and she shrugs elegantly. Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that. The implied threat hangs in the air like poison gas. Sarah realizes that these people view her not as a human being, but as a resource to be exploited, a problem to be managed. Her life, her family's safety, her moral principles, all are secondary to their pursuit of profit and power. But as Mr. Torres tightens his grip on her wrist and Marcus continues gathering her research files, Sarah notices something her captors have missed. The small red light on her computer has started blinking in a different pattern. Someone is remotely accessing her system, right now. The red light continues its urgent pattern. 3 short blinks, 3 long, 3 short. Sarah's heart leaps with recognition. Someone is sending an SOS signal through her computer system. Dr. Chun, Miss Christensen says, noticing Sarah's distraction. Is there something we should know about your computer setup? Sarah forces her expression to remain neutral. Just wondering if I should shut it down properly. I'd hate for any files to become corrupted. How considerate. Miss Christensen's tone suggests she doesn't believe a word. Mr. Torres, please escort Dr. Chun away from her workstation. But before Torres can move, the laboratory door bursts open. Detective Rivera rushes in, his weapon drawn, followed by 2 uniformed officers. Police, nobody move. The room erupts into chaos. Torres releases Sarah's wrist and spins toward the officers, his hand moving for his concealed weapon. Miss Christensen remains eerily calm, her eyes calculating the new variables with machine-like precision. Detective Rivera, Marcus says, his voice pitched with false surprise. What's the meaning of this? We received a report of a possible kidnapping in progress, Rivera replies, his gun trained on Torres. Everyone keep your hands where I can see them. Sarah feels a surge of hope. Emma must have called early, or perhaps someone else. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding, Miss Christensen says smoothly, reaching into her purse. We're Dr. Chun's new employers. Here are our credentials. She produces a leather wallet containing what appears to be federal identification. Rivera examines it carefully, his expression shifting from alertness to confusion. Homeland Security? He asks. Biodefense Unit, Miss Christensen confirms. Dr. Chun's research has been classified as vital to national security. We're here to escort her to a secure facility for her own protection. Sarah's blood turns to ice. These people haven't just planned her kidnapping. They've created legal cover for it. The federal credentials might be genuine or sophisticated forgeries, but either way, they give Miss Christensen authority that local police can't challenge. That's not true, Sarah says desperately. These people are trying to steal my research. They threaten my family. Rivera's eyes flick between Sarah and Miss Christensen, uncertainty clear on his face. Ma'am, if you're concerned for your safety, Dr. Chun has been under considerable stress, Miss Christensen interrupts. The classified nature of her work collapsing. If I can't have the research, he whispers, then nobody can. The small device in his hand looks like a remote detonator. Marcus, don't. Sarah lunges forward, but Torres catches her arm, his training overriding the chaos of the moment. Everyone stay back. Marcus shouts, his thumb hovering over the detonator's red button. Sweat streams down his face, and his hands shake with the tremor of a man pushed beyond his breaking point. The whole lab is wired. One press and everything goes up, all the research, all the samples, all the evidence. Detective Rivera keeps his weapon trained on Torres while trying to talk Marcus down. Dr. Weber, put the device down. We can work this out. No, we can't, Marcus's voice cracks. Don't you understand? This research could save millions of lives, but it'll never see the light of day if it goes public. The regulatory agencies will bury it in red tape for decades. People will die while bureaucrats debate ethics. Ms. Christensen's composure has completely shattered. You weren't supposed to install explosives, you fool. The research samples are irreplaceable. I know exactly what I'm doing, Marcus snarls. You people promised me we'd fast-track this research to help patients. Instead, you're planning to turn it into weapons. Sarah's right. You're not saviors. You're parasites. Sarah stares at her former mentor, seeing him clearly for the first time. Marcus isn't evil. He's desperate, driven by the same desire to help people that motivates her own work. But somewhere along the way, his good intentions have been corrupted by impatience and the seductive promise of unlimited resources. Marcus, she says gently, you don't have to do this. My dead man switch will release the research to legitimate medical institutions. The FDA, the WHO, university hospitals, they'll have everything they need to continue the work ethically. In 20 years, maybe 30, after they've studied it to death, his grip tightens on the detonator. Do you know how many people will die waiting for their approval? And how many more will die if you hand this research to military contractors and pharmaceutical corporations who see human suffering as a profit center? Marcus's face contorts with anguish. I just wanted to help people. I became a scientist to heal, to make a difference. But the system is broken, Sarah. Good intentions aren't enough when people are dying. So you decided to break it further? I decided to find a way around it. His voice drops to a whisper. I convinced myself that working with these people was the lesser evil. That saving some lives was better than saving none. Sarah can see the exact moment when Marcus realizes how far he's fallen, how completely he's betrayed everything he once believed in. The knowledge breaks something inside him, and his finger moves toward the button. If I can't save them, he whispers, At least I can stop anyone else from exploiting them. Marcus, wait. The explosion isn't as massive as Sarah expected. But it's devastating enough. The detonation tears through the laboratory's gas lines and electrical systems, sending equipment flying and filling the air with toxic smoke. Emergency sprinklers activate, spraying water that turns the spreading chemical fires into a caustic soup. Sarah hits the floor hard, her ears ringing from the blast. Through the smoke and chaos, she sees Detective Rivera dragging an unconscious officer toward the door while Torres and Miss Christensen have vanished in the confusion. Her computer screen flickers and dies, but not before she catches a glimpse of a final message. Remote access terminated. Files preserved. J.M. Janet Morrison. Her lab partner has been watching remotely, documenting everything. The SOS signal wasn't from a random hacker. It was from someone who knew Sarah well enough to recognize that she was in danger. Sarah crawls through the wreckage toward where Marcus fell. She finds him pinned under a collapsed equipment rack, blood trickling from a head wound, but still breathing. His eyes focus on her with difficulty. "Sarah," he gasps, "I'm sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing." "I know," she says, checking his pulse. "It's weak but steady. Help is coming. The samples ... Did they survive?" Sarah glances around the destroyed laboratory. Broken glass and twisted metal litter the floor. Chemical fires burn in multiple locations, and the specialized freezers that contained years of research lie in ruins. But through the smoke, she can see that the blast was focused on the central area. The sample storage room in the corner might have been protected by its reinforced walls. "I don't know," she admits. Marcus grips her hand with surprising strength. "The backup protocols. I never told them about the backup protocols. Your samples in the basement cold storage ... They might still be intact." Sarah's heart leaps. She'd forgotten about the automated backup system that transferred samples to the basement facility every night. If Marcus is right, she might not have lost everything. "Marcus, I need you to stay awake. Can you do that for me?" He nods weakly. "Sarah ... Those people. They won't give up. Even if the lab is destroyed, they'll come after you. Your research is too valuable. Let me worry about that. The consortium, it's bigger than you think. Government contracts, international pharmaceutical companies, private military groups. They have resources you can't imagine." Sarah hears sirens approaching, fire trucks, ambulances, more police. Soon the building will be swarming with emergency responders, investigators, and federal agents. Miss Christensen and her associates will either be caught or will disappear into the bureaucratic maze of national security classifications. But Marcus is right, this isn't over. The research that could revolutionize medicine has now been demonstrated to work, witnessed by federal agents and documented by multiple recording devices. Even if Sarah stops this particular conspiracy, others will emerge. "Dr. Chun." She turns to see Detective Rivera emerging from the smoke, his uniform singed, but his expression determined. "We need to get you out of here. The building's not stable." "What about Torres and Christensen?" "Gone. Probably had an extraction plan ready." He helps her lift Marcus onto a makeshift stretcher formed from a laboratory table. "But we have their surveillance equipment, their federal credentials, which turned out to be sophisticated forgeries, and testimony from multiple witnesses." As they carry Marcus toward the exit, Sarah asks the question that's been gnawing at her. "How did you know to come tonight?" Emma wasn't supposed to call until 8:30. Rivera grins through the soot covering his face. "Your lab partner, Dr. Morrison. She's been monitoring your computer remotely for weeks, worried about industrial espionage. When she saw unauthorized access tonight and overheard the conversation through your system's microphone, she called us immediately." Sarah makes a mental note to buy Janet the biggest bottle of wine she can find. They reach the exit just as the fire department arrives. Outside, Emergency vehicles paint the night in flashing red and blue, and Sarah can see news vans already setting up in the distance. The story of the conspiracy will be public within hours, making it much harder for anyone to cover up what happened. But as the paramedics take over Marcus's care and Detective Rivera begins coordinating with federal investigators, Sarah realizes her biggest challenge still lies ahead. Her research is gone, her laboratory destroyed, and her career in ruins. More importantly, the people who tried to kidnap her tonight represent just one tentacle of a much larger creature. If she wants to continue her work, if she wants to protect other scientists from suffering the same fate, she needs to find a way to fight back against an enemy with unlimited resources and legal immunity. The dead man's switch is still counting down. 70 hours until her research goes public. 70 hours to decide whether to honor her commitment to transparency or negotiate with forces that could make her life and her family's lives a living hell. As Sarah watches her life's work burn, she makes a decision that will change everything. 63 hours until the dead man's switch activates, and Sarah hasn't slept in 48. She sits in a generic safe house provided by Detective Rivera's contacts in the FBI, staring at a laptop screen filled with encrypted files that Janet Morrison managed to salvage from the laboratory's network before the explosion. "You look like hell," Emma says, setting a cup of coffee beside Sarah's laptop. Her sister has barely left her side since the incident, despite Sarah's repeated attempts to convince her to go somewhere safe. "Feel worse," Sarah admits, rubbing her eyes, "but I think I found something." On the screen is a financial trail that Janet's remote monitoring software captured during the weeks leading up to the attack. Wire transfers, shell company registrations, communications between Marcus and his mysterious contacts, a digital breadcrumb trail that reveals the scope of the conspiracy. "The money comes from everywhere," Sarah explains, highlighting different transaction records. Defense contractors, pharmaceutical giants, private equity firms, even foreign governments. They're not just one organization, they're a network of organizations with a shared interest in controlling breakthrough medical research. Emma peers over her shoulder. "How many other scientists have they done this to?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out." Sarah opens another file, this one containing personnel records Janet somehow accessed from Meridian's administrative servers. "Look at this. Over the past 5 years, 17 researchers working on cutting-edge medical projects have either disappeared, died in suspicious accidents, or suddenly left academia to work for undisclosed private employers. The implications are staggering. Sarah's situation isn't an isolated incident, it's part of a systematic campaign to weaponize medical research. Brilliant minds working on treatments for cancer, Alzheimer's, genetic disorders, and other devastating conditions have been silenced, co-opted, or eliminated to serve corporate and military interests. "You need to turn this over to the FBI," Emma says firmly. "I will, but first, I need to find out if any of those scientists are still alive." Sarah's fingers fly across the keyboard, cross-referencing the missing researchers with employment records from defense contractors and pharmaceutical companies. "If they're being held like they plan to hold me, maybe I can help them." Her phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. "Dr. Chun, we need to talk. I have information about the other scientists. Come alone to Riverside Park, the Oak Tree, midnight tonight. A friend." Sarah stares at the message, her pulse quickening. Someone else knows about the buried evidence, about her secret preparations. "But who?" "Don't even think about it," Emma says, reading over her shoulder. "It's obviously a trap." "Maybe, but what if it's not? What if it's one of the other scientists who managed to escape? Or what if it's Miss Christensen trying to lure you out before your deadline expires?" Sarah considers this. The timing is suspicious, just 63 hours before her research goes public. Someone wants to meet at the exact location where she buried her backup evidence. But if there's even a chance that other scientists need help, I have to go, she decides. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. If something happens to me, you're the only one who knows where the evidence is buried. You're the backup plan. Emma's expression hardens with familiar stubbornness. Then we call Detective Rivera. Let the police handle it. Rivera's hands are tied by federal jurisdictional issues. Half his department thinks I'm a terrorist who tried to sell classified research to foreign agents. The other half thinks I'm a paranoid scientist who imagined the whole conspiracy. Because that's exactly what the real conspirators want them to think, Emma points out. Sarah's laptop chimes with an incoming message. Janet Morrison's face appears on the video call, her expression grim. Sarah, I've been monitoring police communications. There's something you need to know. What is it? Detective Rivera is dead. The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. What? Car accident this morning. Single vehicle, lost control on a curve he's driven thousands of times. No witnesses. Janet's voice is carefully controlled, but Sarah can hear the fear underneath. They're calling it an accident, but Rivera was the only cop who believed us, Sarah finishes. The only one actively investigating the conspiracy. There's more. Dr. Weber died in the hospital an hour ago. Officially from complications related to his injuries, but the attending physician said he was stable and recovering when she checked on him this morning. Sarah feels the walls closing in around her. Marcus and Rivera, the two people who could corroborate her story, both dead within hours of each other. The timing can't be coincidental. Janet, you need to disappear. Go. Somewhere safe, somewhere they can't find you. Already on it. I'm transmitting everything I have to multiple secure servers, then going off-grid. But Sarah, be careful who you trust. These people have resources we can't imagine. After the call ends, Sarah stares at the blank screen, her mind racing. With Rivera and Marcus dead, her credibility is severely damaged. Even if the FBI believes her story, prosecuting a conspiracy this vast and well-connected could take years, if it's possible at all. But the mysterious text message might represent her only chance to find allies, other scientists who've experienced what she's gone through. If they're still alive, they could provide testimony that supports her claims. I'm going to the park, she tells Emma, but not at midnight. I'm going now, in daylight, when I can see anyone who might be watching. Sarah, the evidence is buried 3 feet down, due north of the big route. If I don't come back, dig it up and take it to every news organization you can find. Emma grabs her arm. What if this mysterious friend is legitimate? What if they're trying to help? Then they'll understand why I need to be cautious. Sarah drives to Riverside Park via a circuitous route, checking her mirrors constantly for signs of surveillance. The park is busy with afternoon joggers and dog walkers, too public for an ambush, but also too crowded for a clandestine meeting. She approaches the oak tree carefully, scanning the area for anything unusual. The ground where she buried the evidence appears undisturbed, but her trained eye notices something that makes her heart race. Fresh footprints in the soft earth nearby, and they're not hers. Someone has been here recently, someone who knows exactly where to look. As Sarah kneels to examine the footprints more closely, she hears a voice behind her. Dr. Chun. She spins around to find a woman approaching middle-aged, Asian, wearing the casual clothes of a weekend park visitor. But her eyes have the haunted look Sarah recognizes from her own mirror. My name is Dr. Lee Wang, the woman says quietly. Until 3 years ago, I was working on experimental treatments for ALS at Johns Hopkins. Then I asked too many questions about my funding sources. Sarah's pulse quickens. You're one of the missing scientists. One of the survivors, Dr. Wang corrects. I've been tracking this conspiracy for 3 years, documenting their methods, building a case. When I heard about what happened to you, I knew we needed to meet. How many others are there? 7 that I know of. Scientists they couldn't co-opt or silence, who managed to escape before they could be disappeared permanently. Dr. Wang glances around nervously. We've been working together, gathering evidence, trying to expose the network. But we needed someone with credibility, someone whose research is too important to ignore. My research will go public in 62 hours. Regardless, that's not enough. They'll discredit it, claim it's incomplete or fabricated. We need living witnesses, multiple testimonies, a coordinated effort that they can't suppress. Sarah considers this. A group of missing scientists, all with similar stories, would be much harder to dismiss than one paranoid researcher. But it would also make them all targets. What are you proposing? Dr. Wang pulls out a burner phone. A press conference. Tomorrow morning, before your deadline expires. 7 missing scientists telling their stories, providing evidence of systematic kidnapping and research theft. With your breakthrough to legitimize our claims, we might actually be able to expose them. That's incredibly dangerous. More dangerous than letting them continue? Dr. Chun, they've already killed Detective Rivera and Dr. Weber. They'll kill you too, as soon as they figure out how to disable your dead man's switch. Sarah looks back at the oak tree, thinking of the evidence buried beneath its roots. Everything she's worked for, everything she believes in, comes down to a choice: hide and hope they leave her alone, or fight back and risk everything. Where and when? She asks. The abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city looks like the perfect place for an ambush, which is exactly why Dr. Wang chose it. They'll expect us to meet somewhere public and safe, she explains as Sarah follows her through the rusted entrance. This forces them to commit resources if they want to stop us. Inside, Sarah finds herself face to face with 6 other scientists, each carrying the same haunted expression she's seen in her own mirror. Dr. James Rodriguez, a neuroscientist who disappeared while researching traumatic brain injury treatments. Dr. Fatima Hassan, whose groundbreaking work on genetic muscular dystrophy therapies vanished along with her. Dr. Michael Torres, no relation to the man who tried to kidnap Sarah, whose cancer immunotherapy research made him a target. Each of us has the same story, Dr. Wang explains. Approached by mysterious investors, pressured to relocate our research, threatened when we refused. The lucky ones escaped. The others ... double quotes, she doesn't need to finish. They all understand the stakes. The press conference is set for 9 a.m. at the downtown Marriott, Dr. Rodriguez says, checking his watch. That gives us 18 hours to prepare our testimony and get the evidence organized. What about security? Sarah asks. These people have killed to protect their secrets. They won't hesitate to eliminate all of us at once. We have ALEs, Dr. Hassan says quietly. Investigative journalists who've been tracking defense contractor corruption, FBI agents who weren't bought off, even some congressional staffers who want to expose military-industrial complex abuses. They'll be there to witness and record everything. Sarah's phone buzzes with a text from Emma. Saw the news about Rivera. Coming to get you whether you like it or not. She types back quickly. Stay away. We'll explain later. Love you. Dr. Chun, Dr. Wang says. There's something else you need to know. We've identified the organization behind all this. She pulls out a tablet displaying the complex organizational chart. At the center is a name that makes Sarah's blood run cold. Aegis Biodynamics. They're not just a pharmaceutical company. Dr. Wang continues. They're a front for a consortium of defense contractors, foreign governments, and private equity firms. Their business model is simple. Identify promising medical research, steal or co-opt it, then develop it for military and enhancement applications while suppressing civilian medical uses. How is that possible? Money and connections. They have contracts with the Pentagon, relationships with regulatory agencies, influence in academic institutions. When they want her researchers' work, they simply take it. If the researcher cooperates, they live comfortably in captivity. If they resist, Sarah studies the chart, recognizing several names from her own university's board of directors. The conspiracy reaches deeper than she imagined, with tentacles in government, academia, and industry. The press conference will expose them, Dr. Rodriguez says, but only if we all survive to testify. They'll throw everything they have at stopping us. Then we make sure they can't, Sarah says, pulling out her laptop. My dead man switch isn't just set to release my research, it's connected to copies of everything Janet Morrison gathered about the conspiracy. Financial records, communication intercepts, personnel files. If anything happens to any of us before tomorrow morning, it all goes public immediately. The other scientists exchange glances. Sarah realizes she's just made herself the primary target. If Aegis Biodynamics wants to stop the exposure, they have to neutralize her first. There's something else, she continues. I have backup samples of my research hidden in a secure location. Even if they destroy my laboratory data, the physical evidence still exists. That gives us leverage, Dr. Wang nods approvingly. Mutually assured destruction. They can't eliminate us without ensuring their own exposure. As they spend the next several hours preparing their testimony and coordinating with their media contacts, Sarah can't shake the feeling that they're being watched. Every car that passes the warehouse, every distant sound, every shadow that moves past the grimy windows sets her nerves on edge. At 3 a.m., her paranoia proves justified. Movement. Outside, Dr. Hassan whispers from her position near a window. Multiple vehicles, no lights. Sarah peers through a crack in the boarded-up windows and sees them. Black SUVs positioned at strategic points around the warehouse, figures in tactical gear moving through the shadows. Aegis has found them. How many? Dr. Rodriguez asks, checking his phone for cell signal. Nothing, they're being jammed. At least 20, Sarah counts. Military-grade equipment, coordinated positioning. These aren't corporate security guards. Dr. Wang's face is grim. They're not here to kidnap us. They're here to eliminate the problem permanently. The realization hits all of them simultaneously. Aegis has decided that killing them is worth the risk of Sarah's dead man switch activating. Either they've found a way to stop the data release, or they're confident they can weather the exposure if no living witnesses remain to corroborate the evidence. The back exit, Dr. Torres says, but Dr. Hassan shakes her head. Covered. They have the building surrounded. Sarah's mind races through their options. 7 scientists against 20 trained operatives, trapped in a building with no communication and no escape routes. The odds are overwhelming. But then she remembers something Dr. Wang said earlier. We have allies. The press conference, Sarah says suddenly. It's supposed to be at 9 a.m., right? That's 6 hours from now, Dr. Rodriguez points out. We'll be dead long before then, not if we move it up. Sarah pulls out her laptop, grateful that her satellite internet connection is harder to jam than cell signals. If we can get word to our media contacts to come here, now with cameras rolling. They'll massacre journalists along with scientists, Dr. Hassan protests. No, they won't. Killing us in secret is one thing. Murdering reporters and scientists on live television is another. Even Aegis doesn't have enough influence to cover up that kind of atrocity. Dr. Wang catches on immediately. A live-streamed press conference. Multiple news outlets, social media platforms, international coverage. Make it too public to stop. As Sarah begins sending encrypted messages to every journalist and news organization on their contact list, she hears the distinctive sound of tactical teams breaching the building's entrances. They have minutes, maybe less, before the assault begins. Whatever happens, she tells the other scientists, remember that we've already won. The truth is going to come out, whether we're alive to see it or not. The warehouse lights suddenly blaze on, and a voice echoes through a megaphone. "Dr. Chun, this is Agent Martinez with Aegis Security. We know you're inside. Come out with your hands visible, and no one needs to get hurt." Sarah looks at her fellow scientists, brilliant minds who dedicated their lives to healing humanity, now hunted like criminals for refusing to let their work be perverted into instruments of war and profit. "Like hell," she mutters, and keeps typing. Her laptop screen shows incoming confirmations. CNN en route. BBC International arriving in 10 minutes. 3 local news stations mobilizing crews. The cavalry is coming, but will they arrive in time? Outside, the tactical teams are getting impatient. Sarah can hear them moving closer, surrounding the warehouse with military precision. "Dr. Chen," the megaphone crackles again. "You have 60 seconds to surrender before we come in after you." Sarah hits the final send button on her message to Emma. "Emergency backup plan. Check the oak tree. Tell the world." Then she closes the laptop and stands to face whatever comes next. The warehouse door explodes inward just as the first news van screeches into the parking lot, its headlights cutting through the pre-dawn darkness. Agent Martinez and his tactical team freeze as camera crews spill out of the vehicles, their equipment already rolling. This is Rebecca Torres, CNN breaking news. A reporter's voice carries across the industrial lot. "We live at a warehouse where we've received reports of an armed confrontation involving missing scientists and alleged government contractors." Sarah watches through the window as more news vans arrive. BBC, local stations, independent journalists with smartphone cameras. The scene transforms from a covert operation into a media circus in minutes. Agent Martinez's voice comes through his radio, audible in the sudden stillness. "Control, we have a problem." Multiple news outlets on scene, cameras rolling. "Request immediate extraction protocol." The response crackles back. "Negative. Mission is abort. Repeat, abort and withdraw." Sarah allows herself a moment of fierce satisfaction. Aegis Biodynamics can steal research, kidnap scientists, and murder witnesses, but they can't massacre people on live television without destroying themselves in the process. "Dr. Chun," Agent Martinez calls through the megaphone, his tone completely changed. "We're federal agents here to escort you to safety. Please come out so we can discuss your protection needs." "Like hell you are," Dr. Wong mutters, but Sarah is already moving toward the door. "Where are you going?" Dr. Rodriguez asks. "To give them what they want," Sarah says, shouldering her laptop bag. "The truth." She walks out of the warehouse, with her hands visible, but not in surrender and presentation. The camera lights are blinding, but behind them she can see dozens of journalists, their equipment trained on every word and movement. "My name is Dr. Sarah Chun," she says, her voice carrying across the lot. 72 hours ago, I was a biomedical researcher working on cellular regeneration therapy. Today, I'm a fugitive from a conspiracy that reaches into the highest levels of government and industry." Agent Martinez approaches, his tactical gear looking increasingly absurd under the media spotlight. "Dr. Chun, you need to come with us for debriefing. These men work for Aegis Biodynamics," Sarah continues, ignoring him. "A criminal organization that systematically steals medical research and perverts it for military and commercial use. They've kidnapped at least 17 scientists, murdered a police detective and my former colleague, and tried to force me to continue my research in captivity." The crowd of journalists presses closer, questions flying from multiple directions. Sarah sees Agent Martinez speaking urgently into his radio, his team falling back as the media presence makes their position untenable. "Dr. Chun, can you prove these allegations?" Rebecca Torres asks, thrusting a microphone forward. "I can, and I will." Sarah pulls out her laptop. "In approximately 54 hours, my complete research database will be released publicly, along with financial records, communication intercepts, and evidence of this conspiracy. But you don't have to wait," She turns the laptop screen toward the cameras, displaying the organizational chart Dr. Wang showed her. This is Aegis biodynamic structure. Defense contractors, pharmaceutical companies, foreign agents, all working together to steal breakthrough medical research from legitimate scientists. Agent Martinez makes one last attempt to regain control. Dr. Chen is suffering from paranoid delusions brought on by the stress of her research work. She needs medical attention, not media exploitation. Really? Dr. Wang emerges from the warehouse, followed by the other missing scientists. Are we all having the same delusion? The journalists go wild as 7 supposedly dead or missing. Researchers stand together in the harsh glare of camera lights. Each begins telling their story: kidnapping attempts, research theft, threats against family members, forced disappearances. Sarah watches Agent Martinez and his team retreat to their vehicles, knowing they're beaten. The story is out now, spreading across social media and news networks faster than any suppression effort can contain it. But even as she savors the moment of victory, Sarah knows this is just the beginning. Aegis biodynamics represents a symptom of a larger disease: the corruption of scientific research by military and corporate interests. Exposing one conspiracy won't cure the system. Her phone buzzes with a text from Emma. "Watching you on TV. I'm proud of you. Also, there are FBI agents at the house who actually seem legitimate this time." As the sun rises over the warehouse parking lot, Sarah finds herself surrounded by real federal agents, not Aegis operatives, but actual FBI investigators who've been building a case against defense contractor corruption for months. They've been waiting for someone with Sarah's credibility and evidence to break the story wide open. "Dr. Chun," Agent Davis introduces herself, "we'd like to offer you protective custody while we investigate your claims. We also have some information you might find interesting about the other missing scientists." "Are they alive?" "Some of them. We've been tracking several underground research facilities operated by Aegis and their partners. Your press conference just gave us the probable cause we needed to raid them." Over the following hours, as FBI teams coordinate simultaneous raids across 3 states, Sarah learns the full scope of what they've uncovered. Dozens of scientists held against their will, forced to develop medical research for military applications. Breakthrough treatments for cancer, Alzheimer's, and genetic disorders locked away in classified projects while patients suffer and die. "Your cellular regeneration research," Agent Davis explains, "was going to be the cornerstone of their human enhancement program. Super soldiers who could heal from battlefield injuries in hours instead of weeks." "Over my dead body," Sarah says. That was their backup plan. 3 months later, Sarah stands in a legitimate research facility, a joint venture between Johns Hopkins, the Mayo Clinic, and 3 international medical universities. Her cellular regeneration research is being developed openly, with full ethical oversight and a commitment to making treatments affordable and accessible worldwide. Dr. Wang, Dr. Rodriguez, and the other rescued scientists work alongside her, their combined expertise accelerating progress beyond what any of them could have achieved alone. The research that Aegis tried to steal and weaponize is instead becoming exactly what Sarah always intended: a tool for healing humanity. "Dr. Chun?" Her new research assistant interrupts her thoughts. The first patient trial results are back. Sarah examines the data, her heart racing with excitement. The cellular regeneration therapy is working even better than her original projections suggested. Spinal cord injuries showing significant improvement, organ damage reversing, degenerative diseases halting their progression. Her phone displays a news alert: Aegis Biodynamics CEO arrested on federal conspiracy charges. The accompanying article details a sprawling investigation that's reached into multiple government agencies, defense contractors, and pharmaceutical companies. Marcus was right about one thing: the system was broken. But instead of working around it, Sarah and her colleagues have proven that the better solution is to fix it. Transparent research, ethical oversight, and a commitment to serving humanity rather than corporate profits. She thinks about the oak tree in Riverside Park, where a metal box still lies buried 3 feet down. Emma retrieved the evidence months ago, but they decided to leave the container as a monument to what happens when scientists refuse to let their work be corrupted. Ready for the next phase? Dr. Wang asks, joining Sarah at her workstation. Sarah looks around the laboratory, bright, open, filled with researchers from around the world working together on projects that could revolutionize medicine. No corporate handlers, no military overseers, no one trying to pervert healing into harm. More than ready, she says, and gets back to work. The dead man's switch that saved her life has been deactivated, its purpose served. But the principle behind it remains. Some knowledge is too important to be controlled by those who would use it for evil. Some truths are worth risking everything to preserve. And sometimes, the best way to protect breakthrough research is to give it away freely, ensuring that no one can steal what belongs to all humanity. In her pocket, Sarah carries a photo from the press conference, 7 missing scientists standing together in the warehouse parking lot, their faces illuminated by camera lights and hope. They look tired, frightened, but determined. They look like people who refuse to let their life's work be turned into weapons. They look like scientists